Hello everyone, my name is Oluwatosin Adeyanju, and here I am providing my weekly forecast for the first week of July, which is the 3rd of July to the 7th of July, regarding the financial market and the assets I trade. Firstly, I would like to read this disclaimer, which says the content provided on this channel, including asset price forecasts, is based solely on my personal view and opinion. All information shared here is for informational and educational purposes only and should not be considered as financial advice or a recommendation to buy or sell any asset. I encourage you to conduct your own research and consult with a licensed financial advisor before making any investment decision. The accuracy, completeness, and timeliness of the information cannot be guaranteed. I'm not responsible for any losses or gains you may experience as a result of using the information provided on this channel. So with that said, let's go quickly into the assets that I trade, and there are basically 16 assets in general that I trade for now, apart from the dollar index, which I use as a guide to trade most of these assets, because many of them are actually facing the US dollars. And let's consider the United States dollar index first, and the outlook what I believe the market would most likely be doing for this week, which is the 3rd to 7th of July. So considering technical analysis only, without regards for the news, without looking at the news for now, the expectation on the dollar, please do note that you have to consider news impact. But for this week, I am not going to go into news impact, perhaps in my subsequent video. But you be careful, really. Let me just do that very quickly. Let's go to the calendar here. So this week we are expecting lots of news. All day on Monday we are expecting the German prelim CPI, which is a very, very important news. The PMI news for US dollar is also expected on Monday by 3 p.m. We have the CPI news expected for the yearly on Euro on Tuesday by 10 a.m. We have the JOLT opening is not a news that I take very serious. We have the non-farm employment change. It's coming up on Wednesday. You should be careful of this, but not so serious as it. But we have the CPI news on CHF, which is coming on Thursday. Be very careful. Anything that has CPI, I'm usually very careful of it. We have the employment change, which is coming up on card on Friday, but the main focus for this week will actually be the non-farm employment, which is coming on Friday on USD by 1:30. So these are news you have to be aware of and careful when if you're in the market at this time. Be careful about how you trade them. But very quickly, let's go and look at the outlook for the week. For the United States dollar here, I actually expect a retest of this daily zone before a continuation upward, if we'll get that on the USD. And I'm not expecting the market to come and close this gap. Actually, we have an imbalance here. I don't know if you can see it. An imbalance at this region can extend as such, where we can expect that price will come and retest before going higher. So the forecast for the US dollars here on the daily time frame, consider the daily time frame, is actually a retest of the level at 105,500 before heading higher to take this high at 106,100. That is the forecast for the DXY, a retest of this zone, this former support zone, which should act as support. We acted as resistance a while ago. We should act as support now before we continue upward for the US dollars. And the euro, euro USD, you can see that market is finding consolidation around this zone, which is a very strong support zone for price. So we could have price actually rally up or come and take this low. It may actually rally up first and take this high at 1.07600 before heading back. But this zone is very strong, and except a news like CPI, which is actually coming out this week, is what I believe would most likely be able to break this low and perhaps trend back to this imbalance here. It's a very huge imbalance from November. So you could have a retest of this level right here before the market heads lower to retest this level and perhaps continue downward. That is my forecast for Euro USD. GBP USD. We can see that the market has been inside this gap for a while, trading away and into it. So for Euro, I'm actually expecting that this gap will get closed this week, but there's no impact news to back that up. So a retest of the high here, perhaps not up to the high, perhaps around this level of 0.6800 before price actually come back to this low, or perhaps close this low, and perhaps the close of this low is actually okay for this week. That is my forecast for Euro USD. For AUD, Australian dollar USD, I say that the Aussie has actually been a very stable currency with multiple retests of the 0.66800 level. So if you have a retest of this level, we can expect that prices will at most test this resistance zone right here, but not trade through it, at least not a close through it, before trading backward into this low. So retest of the 0.66800 and 900 level before trading back into this gap can be widely anticipated this week. For the New Zealand dollar, this has actually also been in a gap, so we can find price trading high up before coming down to retest this zone here, but I don't expect that this imbalance will be filled this week, except for impact news. Perhaps the non-farm employment news comes very in a great disfavor of the US dollars. That's the case where we can get this gap closed. But respecting my expectation will be a trade high into the 0.61300 level before a trade down. But we could have this gap enroached. So the forecast will be a trade up into this level before we have a trade down here. So that is it for AUD. For the USD Japanese yen, the market is clearly in an uptrend, but we see that there was an imbalance created here on Tuesday and Thursday, and with the pending impartation from the Japanese government, we can actually see this gap closed very early in the first week of the month. So I'm expecting that if prices continue to trade higher, which is the normal direction, we could have an impartation. We could drive down price up to this zone right here. Only an impartation can cause that, really, because the market is clearly in an uptrend and it is in the right direction. So an impartation could drive the price lower. So be careful if you are buying anything against the Japanese yen right now. The same thing for euro here. An interpretation could take the price lower to retest levels such as this, the 169,100 level, 169,200 level, or perhaps the 168,500 level for the euro JPY. The same analysis goes for the GPP JPY. We could have, if price continues to trade higher, we could have an early impartation during the week that will test this 200.500 zone. So be very careful of that. We could have something like this very early in the week. Only caused by an impartation mostly. The market is clearly in the uptrend. For USD CHF, the market seems to have found support in this zone, and this is clearly a fake out, and then we have it's clearly a fake out, and we have a reversal to this to trade inside these zones. But we see that there's an imbalance here created on Tuesday slash Thursday, and we could have markets actually coming down into this imbalance before pushing back up. I'm not expecting the drawn liquidity to be this low here, but perhaps a trade into this imbalance before we have a we can have a close of this imbalance, but mostly a trade into this imbalance before we continue upward on USD CHF. For USD card, I may actually not be so much interested in this market for now, because we are clearly heading lower, but the dollar index is very strong and could come out strong, but the Canadian dollar is also expecting unemployment change news and unemployment rate news, which I don't think will have so much impact as the non-farm payroll news. But we will have a market trading low a little bit into the 0.36500 region before a continuation upward. That will be my expectation on the USD card. The S&P 500, I am not actually considering to buy or go any long trade for now. Mostly I'm going to wait for a change of character and then a break of structure on the 1 hour time frame on this before I'm even looking at any low, because the market is very clearly due for correction, and we should have a retest of this zone perhaps before the prices continue to head higher. But you know that this is the indice, this is an indice, and it doesn't be technical that much. But if we have a change of character on the 1 hour time frame and then a break of structure, I may continue shorting this to close some several imbalances here on the daily time frame. The Nasdaq, the US 100, we could expect prices to trade higher into this 20,000 region, perhaps once or twice this week before we head lower, and that will form a double top on the daily, and pattern traders will most likely start looking for short at this price point, which I may be very interested in. For the US 30, you can see that price has been rejecting the sell around this zone. So the expectation will be that if prices come and trade into this zone around the 39,100 region, we could have a retest of this high. This is likely subjected to how strong the US dollar comes this week, or we could have a trade here to close this gap, and then we can trade between this zone. But mostly, if the market trades higher and retest this imbalance, I'll mostly be expecting a short sell back to this zone, and perhaps even continuation further. For gold clearly is in a downtrend, but we see that there's great support at this 2,300 region, 2,300 level, and we could expect that if prices trade higher, I could actually be looking for a short And if I shade into this, there's a region 2335 region. I could actually be looking for a short because there seems to be a supply zone here. If you check the 1 hour time frame, there's a supply zone around there. But be careful of this the good. There seems to be an order block on the 1 hour time frame around the 20 2290 2300 region. So be very careful of that. There seems to be another block around that region, so we could look for a short sell if prices should come up to the 2335 region, short sell into the 2300 region, perhaps a take profit a little bit above that. For the US oil, there's an imbalance here on top, so we actually have prices trading back to this imbalance before heading downward. But there are lots of things that affect the US oil apart from the technical. The technical is just one standpoint, and most of these trades starting from the indices don't obey technicals like the foreign exchange pairs. They don't. There's a certain degree to which they obey technicals, unlike the foreign exchange pair, which has a high probability of being technical based. So we could have a retest of this imbalance here, and you can see that there seems to be a resistance zone here on the daily, which could push price downward. For Bitcoin is actually in a very interesting state right now. I will see that Bitcoin seems to have found support here at the 61,000 region, and we could actually have Bitcoin try to balance to try to balance the market here, and perhaps a trade high into the 63,500 price point, and perhaps a retest before shooting higher. But mostly I'm expecting higher prices on Bitcoin, but we could expect a retest of this region once again, the 6100 zone, before a trade higher. Ethereum as well seems to have changed its character on the 1 hour time frame, but then I'm waiting for a break of structure before I go long, and this imbalance seems to have been fulfilled up to the 0.7 region if we use a Fibonacci on it, and I believe this imbalance has been fulfilled. So we could actually expect higher prices on these two, but we have a resistance zone that seems to be building up, a previous resistance zone for Ethereum at 3650. So that will be a price point to be looking at, and that is my quick analysis on these 16 pairs that I'm looking at. And perhaps in some subsequent videos I'll be more organized and arranged and provide more insight into this, but I don't want this video to take too long. I've actually been recording for around more than 15 minutes now. So this is my market analysis. This is my very first video I'll be publishing on Forex on this channel. So good luck, good trades, guys. I remain Oluwatosin Adeyanju, and I'll be looking to provide further insights next week and perhaps in subsequent weeks. Bye for now. Peace.